Welcome everyone to today's regular council meeting, Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. We officially call to order the meeting at 6 p.m. And to start off with, we want to acknowledge that the land that we're blessed to live and work on and to honor those who came before us. We value the enduring relationships of the French and the Indigenous peoples who continue to share their history, knowledge, and culture with our community. We're also thankful for the generations whose dedication and faith have helped shape this community of Beaumont into this vibrant city that it is today. Alongside of that, I just want to make mention as well that the city of Beaumont continues to recognize and support the valuable contributions of organizations and initiatives that make a positive impact in our community. And proclamations that we declare will be posted on the City of Beaumont's website during the designated observance periods to ensure that the important work that these organizations do is continued to be highlighted and recognized. So today, I hereby proclaim the month of February as Black History Month. And on behalf of Council, we want to thank everyone who helps give meaning to these important days of significance in our community. We value your contributions. And without further ado, we're going to get into the next section, which is the adoption of the agenda. And I will, Councillor motion. Councillor Natellenbach.
I move that the January 27, 2026 regular council agenda be adopted as presented.
Any discussion? Okay, go to vote. And that passed unanimously. Continue on to the consent agenda. I want to pull out, so councillors to pull off the council strategic plan update off the consent agenda, please. Any other, Councillor Penrod, then Councillor Colesmith.
Nothing to pull off, Mayor. I'll just move the motion when we're there.
Okay, Councillor Colesmith.
I'd like to remove the quarterly operating update, please.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? Okay, so with those updated pieces removed from the consent agenda, we'll have Councillor Penrod. Oh, sorry, I got you on there again.
Thanks, Mayor. I move that council consent to approve the following agenda items without debate. Item 5.1, regular council meeting minutes, January 13th, 2026. Item 5.2, special council meeting minutes, January 20th, 2026. And item 11.2, 2026 Youth Advisory Committee public member appointments, that the appointment and term as set out in the January 27, 2026 report, 2026 Youth Advisory Committee public member appointments be approved, and that the report remain confidential pursuant to sections 20 and 34 of the Access to Information Act until the applicant is informed.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, let's go to a vote. We're just waiting for the voting to appear. Okay. Did everyone cast your vote? Yep. Oh, there we go. Carried unanimously. Awesome. Whoever is coming, go to the front there. Welcome. If you want to press the button on the, right there, and then I'll turn on your microphone. Perfect. Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, thanks for having us. My name is Jeff McGowan. I'm one of the directors here in Alberta. Kevin will introduce himself. I'm a member of the Mounted Police. I have been since 1994. I've worked in Alberta as well as the Yukon in various capacities, and for the last 5 years I've been attached, or 6 years I've been attached to the Union. I actually had the good fortune of working with Paul Suter in Slave Lake a long time ago, so kind of a reminiscing, but we're going to go probably pretty quick because we know we have 10 minutes through this, and
Do we have a timer going to put up there? Sorry, we'll give you a timer so you know.
We just want to make sure we don't waste
Yeah.
any time here.
And we'll have time after as well for questions, if
perfect.
you're okay for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. As Jeff alluded to, my name is Kevin Hall. I'm the other director for the National Police Federation that makes my home here in Sylvan Lake. Not quite as much service as Jeff in the Mounted Police. I joined in 1997, but all my service has been in Alberta, and fairly proud of all my service being in Alberta. But we'll get right to it with that. Not sure what happened to our presentation. I guess we're doing a timer yet, right?
Yeah, just do it.
I think they'll start again.
And I assume everybody has had seen this before, so, yeah, it should be. And just out of curiosity, has the detachment commander been in to explain any of funding, et cetera? Okay, perfect. Okay. And
Bring our presentation back up, please. Wherever it went.
I'm not sure.
There it is.
There it is,
we go.
okay.
Perfect. Awesome. National Police Federation. Our mandate is quite simple, and that is to advocate for our members so that they can keep communities just like Beaumont safe. Here in Alberta, that means supporting approximately 3,100 members in 113 detachments, assisting more than 1.5 million residents. And today we're here to talk about Alberta's policing future and to listen to any questions you may have. Alberta's RCMP services in Alberta are governed by a provincial police services agreement. The provincial and federal governments effective agreements between the provincial and federal governments, and that's effective until 2032. In Beaumont, the RCMP operated under a municipal police service agreement. Under RCMP contract policing, all Alberta communities receive a full slate of policing services. This includes specialized services such as emergency response teams, police dog services, forensics units, search and rescue, and much, much more. The Alberta RCMP answers annually approximately 800,000 calls for service, serves 22 First Nations communities, and over 300 municipalities. As a quick visual, then we're talking about the Provincial Policing Services Agreement here. The RCMP polices about 659 square kilometers. That's one officer per 378 square kilometers. If we compare that to service such as Edmonton or Calgary, if we do break that down and do the math with the geography and the number of members they each have, Calgary and Edmonton police services, they police between 685 and 825 square meters. Sorry, one officer per 380 square meters. So basically we're going from a fairly decent drive to basically shouting distance. This shows the unique rural challenges that our members meet daily.
so within Alberta's public safety ecosystem, there are three pillars that work together. The first, of course, is the Alberta RCMP as Alberta's provincial police force, who operate under provincial and federal mandates, as well as municipal contracts, which I understand is what Beaumont currently operates under. Then you have the municipal services, Calgary, Edmonton, Lethbridge, and others. They serve specific communities in Alberta, often partner with the Alberta RCMP on cross-jurisdictional crime and joint task forces like ALERT, and there has been a lot of interoperability between all the forces within Alberta. And lastly, you have the other public safety personnel. That's where the sheriffs, municipal peace officers, bylaw officers, they contribute to keeping communities safe, secure through enforcing bylaws and upholding public order. And each has a distinct role, and duplication obviously costs money and risks gaps.
On July 2nd, 2025, the government of Alberta announced the creation of the Alberta Sheriff's Police Service and presented a new provincial police service that would work alongside the RCMP. The government says this new police service will be built by reassigning existing sheriffs into policing roles, but the facts are much different. There are only 1,068 funded positions instead of the 2,000 government positions that the government claims. Of those, 15% are currently vacant, leaving just 904 uniformed sheriff personnel on duty. By utilizing the 650 sheriffs into the ASPS, that would leave only 254 sheriff personnel left to do the rest of their duties, like court security, prisoner transport, and traffic enforcement. At present, there seems to be no public plan, no costing, and no clarity on implementation without disrupting existing sheriff responsibilities or evidence on affordability or effectiveness. The Alberta Next panel recently released their report on recommendations after hosting town halls over the summer and fall of 2025. Replacing the Alberta RCMP with the new provincial police service was a recommendation made by the panel, which had also discussed possibly launching a new municipal police services in Airdrie, Fort McMurray, and Red Deer, funded by the province. However, many of you may be aware that, and remember that the Fair Deal Panel of 2020, which already surveyed Albertans on the Alberta Provincial Police Service. Albertans ranked, at that time, the proposal second to last out of 15 priorities, only above the separation from Canada and just by a touch. Polling by Player Strategic Insights that asked Albertans to rank the proposals discussed by the panel confirmed again, replacing that the RCMP was second to last priority out of the 12 considered. Government is moving ahead despite no public appetite, no costing, and no plan. Government created the Independent Police Service, and under it launched the Interdiction Patrol Team, comprised of sheriffs in Alberta at the Alberta-Montana border in 2025. Now the government is looking at redeploying the team after it failed to improve border security. The province keeps repurposing sheriffs to fill gaps without following a clear public safety strategy. This raises serious concerns. First being transparency. Albertans have not been told what this will cost. There's a duplication, as Jeff alluded to. The duplication of the ASPS risks duplicating services delivered by existing agencies. And sustainability. The government's last provincial policing proposal came with significant cost increases. And it would certainly appear that action is being taken without evidence or consultation.
So the cost and what it boils down to is 2021 government study pegged the startup at about 372 million and 164 million per year extra in operating costs, which brings the total to 550 million pre-inflation. Any change to policing incurs the risk of major unknown costs. If we look at just a few of the costs associated with upgrading even the 650 sheriffs, you're looking at 30 million in salary upgrades to align with the first-class constable averages. We want to be comparable and at least competitive. $5 million in training costs to meet provincial standards. $8 million for new gear, uniform, service pistols. $2 million for body-worn cameras. And this is even before you end up getting into new vehicles, IT, detachment space, civilian oversight. And with the RCMP, 30% of those costs are federal. With the ASPS, 100% lands on Albertan taxpayers and municipalities.
So what have we heard? Well, we survey Albertans every year, and the trend has been very consistent over the last several years. Over 75% of Albertans in RCMP-served communities are satisfied with the Alberta RCMP. Less than 10% want to see a new provincial police service established, and over 80% want to keep the RCMP either outright or with improvements. When it comes to the top priorities people actually raise, healthcare, cost of living, and fixing the justice system, not a new badge design reigns.
So who governs the RCMP? And there are two contracts which give provinces and municipalities real authority over the RCMP policing. The Provincial Police Service Agreement facilitates the province's setting of priorities and personnel numbers. Basically, it's contained within the contract that the Justice Minister sets the goals, I think it's Article 6, priorities and objectives of the Provincial Police Service. It's also true in the municipal contract. So you have essentially control over what is important to the police within your jurisdiction. The Provincial Police Agreement, the federal government then on the PPSA side contributes 30% of the costs, which of course saves Alberta roughly $188 million annually to invest elsewhere. And on the Municipal Services Agreement, it gives powers to the towns and cities to set community priority goals, tailor budgets. Under these agreements, the federal government contributes either 10 or 30% of the policing costs. So effectively, Alberta ends up steering the ship without picking up 100% of the bill.
The government's narrative is that the RCMP are too slow, too few, and too costly. But the facts state otherwise. PPSA troop strength is up 14% since 2020, from 1,549 members to 1,772 members today. 911 calls average 21 minutes from time of call to time of arrival, and keep in mind the vast area service cover that we talked about previously. First class constable pay sits mid-range among Alberta police, just mid-range. Recruitment is actually booming, with over 20,500 applicants received in 2024, and with over 4,600 of those coming straight from Alberta. In fact, Depot has launched its first Alberta troop. It started in September 25, meaning that when this troop graduates in the spring of 2026, March 23rd to be exact, all those members of that troop will be coming to Alberta, their first posting. I happened to be in Regina on Friday and met with them. They are excited as all heck to be coming to Alberta. Data matters, misinformation doesn't help, data matters, misinformation doesn't help anyone make good decisions.
So what can the municipalities do? First, of course, stay informed by various sources on what is happening and the potential impacts. Ask the province for the hard numbers, the training seats, capital costs, integration plan. The devil's always in the details on these things. Tell them rural Alberta basically can't afford fewer frontline officers or higher taxes in this case. To support existing cross-jurisdiction solutions that work, like enhanced 911 staffing, integrated crime units, mental health triage, etc. The NPF and the RCMP are ready to refine and improve current model for you. We speak consistently with the CO, the commissioner, and I apologize, I forgot to mention, we have our president of the union, Brian Sauvé, here with us, came in. We've been doing detachment visits, and I would say he probably speaks with the commissioner on a regular basis, as well as various MPs and politicians. We again thank you for having us here today, and we look forward to working with you in the future, and we're happy to answer whatever questions.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. I'll just open up any questions that any councillors have. Councillor Van Newkirk and then Councillor Benrod.
Yeah, when I was, excuse me, when I was reviewing this, I was wondering, like, where's some stats on how many are up and coming, right? And in that one bullet, it says over 20,500 applications received in 2024, 3,000 from Alberta. But just a bigger picture question for you, you know, in the spirit of hashtag facts matter. Is there a current staffing gap at the RCMP, as in, like, what percentage of approved and funded and counted on positions exist but might not be currently filled? Like, is there a gap there?
Hard vacancies?
You're talking vacancy rates, soft and hard?
Sure, yeah. Like, you expect to have 100 positions, but you only have 82 filled with a gap of 18.
Yeah.
Like, what does that scenario look for, like, for the RCMP big picture?
Well, I mean, we'll answer, like, this question is really, like, this is something you would get through your commander, because the commander is able to get those numbers. We can speak to it because we do get some, we speak with the CO on a regular basis about this stuff. The hard, I think it was 350 division-wide, which included on the federal side, so that's 3,100 members, I think was the actual, that included the hard and the soft vacancy. I can't quote, like, don't quote me on that, because it would be, like, I'd have to look. But effectively, the numbers are consistent with every other police force. We've been doing a lot of those looks, and I think we can probably provide a lot of those numbers. Like, any of the data that you're looking for, we can get it to you, and we'll provide it. The hard numbers on the vacancy rate, because they constantly change.
Yeah.
People on LWOP or ODS coming back to work, or retiring, or getting hired. Those things fluctuate on a regular basis, and I don't know if you've spoken with Nina, I can never pronounce her last name, but Sesrubudi, she has all of these numbers available. So if you're interested, we can certainly put in the word and have that made available for you. That's where the CO, he wants to make sure that everybody's kept informed, wants to make sure the mayors and the councillors know all this stuff. So we can do that. I'm just giving you a rough estimate.
Yeah, and for me, it's less about hard numbers and more about, like, you know, is it like a 5 or an 8 or a 10%? Like, where does that land? And the reason I ask is because locally, so we're, you know, the big question is big picture. Locally, in the past, there was struggle filling all the positions. We're in a better place today than we have been in the past, big time. But I you know, as I went through this, I was like, oh, some good recruitment coming, some folks coming. What does the bigger picture look like? So
yeah, and that has been part of the issue, and a lot of it was the defund the police movement, George Floyd, Black Lives Matter. That really took a toll. Despite it occurring south of the border, it really impacted policing across the Western world, basically. But we're now seeing increased numbers looking to join the force. It's well over, I think last year was a record year, well over 20,000 looking to get in. That doesn't mean that we're going to get 20,000.
Yeah.
I mean, we want
20,000 starts. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at 10%, that's still a good number because obviously you want to make sure you get the right people for policing. You don't, like, this is not a job for the wrong people, for sure. And then it's going to be a matter of, trying to get them through quicker. So there, as a matter of fact, it was yesterday, there was a message released from the commissioner speaking about methods to streamline and bring in and cut down recruiting from whatever the timeline is to, I think they want to get it down to 120 days. I think that's probably a bit optimistic, I guess. But I'm thinking that they'll be able to look at like really whittling it down. And that's just a change, and that's just trying to be competitive now with all the other police forces. So
Yeah.
it's
No,
a
I
work in
appreciate.
progress.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go to Councillor Penrod and then Councillor Murray. Oops, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service, both to the communities, but also on behalf of your comrades that you serve alongside. You mentioned the RCMP first-class constable pay is mid-range among Alberta Police Services. Just wondering if you could give us some expanded commentary on how that needle has moved over the past 5 years or so. Where I'm coming from on this is one of the challenges for Beaumont over that period has been keeping up with the rapid increase in policing costs flowing from past collective bargaining results.
Yeah, absolutely. So when the NPF stood up in 2020, at that time, the RCMP member's salary was woefully behind their counterparts, not just in the province of Alberta, but across the country. There is a link or website called The Repository. Basically, it's the top 100 police services as far as pay goes. They actually had to extend that to 150 because the RCMP wasn't in the top 100. It was woefully behind. I would say approximately 30,000 behind-ish, somewhere in there. As a result of the first collective agreement, it didn't bring the members up to the highest paid by any stretch of the imagination, but it brought them up to competitive. And that's really one of the reasons why we're seeing the recruiting numbers through the roof, because now it's actually competitive to the rest of the tier 1 police services across the country. So that's likely where you're seeing the increase in costing. It's not the most expensive, it's not the cheapest, it's competitive. And for that, I should say that it's well known across the world that the RCMP members are among the best trained and the best trained to do the tasks, no matter what the case is, whether we're talking municipal or rural or whatever.
There's an interesting number just further to that point that may interest you, and I know that the K Division has looked at it where it gets into the total cost for a member of Calgary City Police and Edmonton City Police and the RCMP, and it just kind of calculates everything in there. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. The RCMP was the lowest cost. I think EPS might have been the highest, but it was something good to give you an indication of what we're looking at.
And we can give that number for if you wish. And that's when the total cost, we're talking basically,
Everything.
If I can use the term, a turnkey cost, so that includes all the administrative costs, all the everything that's surrounding, everything that goes with the member.
Yeah.
Thank you. You maybe anticipate where I'm going with this next. I understand we're headed towards another round of collective bargaining. And so do you anticipate that going different because the context is quite different as you described now? That big catch-up has kind of happened. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity to speak to how you at the NPF think about financial sustainability of the communities that you serve, while you also are tasked to stand up for the best interests of your members as well.
Well, neither Kevin nor myself are on the bargaining, and all of that is really subject to secret squirrely. Like, they don't tell. Yeah. So we know nothing about what is actually being looked at. What I will say though is my expectation is that it will be comparable. The issue with that is as policing salaries go up across the country, that's what they're using to compare. If it goes, let's say, to mediation or arbitration or even negotiation, we'll end up seeing something like that. Do I expect that there'll be some sort of raise in there? Yeah, I do, but I have no idea what it looks like. But
Wouldn't be anything close to what.
Sure, I guess what I'm getting at is the last round was where municipalities really felt the big shock of
Yeah.
it, right? And so
yeah,
it's good
so
data to have, yeah.
collect,
Brian
yeah,
wants to-
or go ahead, Jeff. Yeah,
We're
go ahead, sorry.
gonna give one more question, then we're gonna
Okay.
close down.
Just quick for
Yeah.
clarity, and I'll agree with you. The first round, because there was 4 years of retroactivity, and that resulted in considerable cost to their contracting partners. The second round, actually, which was 2024, we were in cycle. So it resulted in about 12 months of retroactivity. So your contract expires, it takes about 12 months to negotiate a new one. Similar to this one, we're actually already in about 12 months into our negotiations, and ultimately, if and when we reach a deal, ideally this year, you'll look at about 12 months of retroactivity. So a similar labor thing. I apologize for the first one because of the big retroactive, but I won't because our members deserved it. So thank you for accepting and adopting that. But that size of retroactivity should never happen again in the future.
Yeah, I think what you'll find when you deal with folks in Beaumont is that we're very appreciative of our police services and the members that provide it. It's something we always hear in the community. If anything, we're looking for more services. But on the other side of it, we just need that sustainability, right? We need that predictability, and that's something we're always trying to work with our policing partners on.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Penrod. And, all right, perfect. Thank you so much for your presentation tonight, coming, we appreciate it. And,
Thank you.
yeah, if we did want some of that information, we'll reach out to you and
Yep.
get it sent perfectly.
Marianne King. would
Okay.
She has it all.
Awesome.
And whatever you need, even if it's polling data, et cetera, we'll make it available.
Thank you so much, yeah. Enjoy
Thank you
the rest
very
of
much.
Thank you for taking the time. All right, so we'll go on now to item number 7, which should be, okay, so this is just receive for information, is that how it works? Or there's no discussion about it, no questions on it, or we can have?
Thank you, Mayor. So one of the councillors had pulled this off of the consent agenda, so you can ask if they want to speak to that, why they've pulled it off.
Okay, yes, I think there's a few questions on it, so before we go on to that, do you have any questions ready, or I'll go? You can go first. I was the one who pulled it off, so I'll go first. So I just have a few questions, just maybe update questions. So looking at the first frame, so page 2, the aspiration economically prosperous, and the second part of that, it says, encouragement needed development. It says over on the side where it says current update and next steps, and towards the bottom, the second from the bottom says a concept for an incentive program was presented to council in June of 2024 to encourage needed development. Is that something we can have access to? Or has that been functioning well, or just curious about that? And what it is, if you can say it. Yeah, okay, number 8. Go ahead, Ms. Niesig.
Thank you. It's something we'd be happy to bring back to council. We had brought forward a number of different options for economic development incentives. At the time, council elected to go forward with the health services grant, and that's the one that came out of it, which has been functioning, and we've had one person be a successful applicant so far. Beyond that, it was just an evaluation of different options. So if that's something council's interested in, once again, we're happy to bring back us at this time.
Okay, so this was more for incentive to attract. Okay, so this was more for incentive to attract certain business, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I was thinking of it in terms of development, because it talked about development, but thank you for explaining that. Okay, the next one, the question I had was, I know that it says the next square, so in page number 3, talks about leverage findings from the review of the planning, development, and engineering areas to enhance customer service. I know there's been the e-permitting that has been implemented or begin to implement. I'm just wondering where we're at with that. Has that already started, or is that going to be launching in Q2? I know here it says to support residential, commercial. Just wanted to give an update on where that is. Number 10. Go for it, Ms. Raymond.
Thank you. To the mayor. I just going to pull up, sorry, if you could just, my computer doesn't want to go to that right section here. But I'll just briefly talk about, I guess, the service review and that implementation. So one of the findings from that was to have a more digital-based environment, to maybe move away from our Excel, Outlook, based environment that we're currently working in on our manual processes. So we will be going out to RFP here to procure a vendor and then begin that implementation process. So actually we're expected to launch that RFP next week and then go through vendor selection and contract negotiations, and then be with the idea that we would start implementation process on that in May. And depending on what those timelines come back from the vendor and those sorts of things, that would drive that timeline, whether that's about a year process or so. But
Okay, thank you. And then the next one, just the item right underneath that, it says enrolled Beaumont in the digital economy program. I don't know if you speak to that. I'm just wondering what that is. Go ahead, Ms. Neesing.
It's in partnership with the University of Alberta, and what it was opportunities for businesses to promote themselves, to be available. All of our regional partners are a member of this as well, so we enrolled in the program, and I believe at least twice we've sent it out for all of the businesses, as it's free for them to be a part of, to advertise themselves. So it's really just a good value add and opportunity for the local businesses here in Beaumont.
And have you found an uptake on that? Do you kind of know how many businesses?
I don't know how many. It wasn't as many as we thought it would be, but we'll continue to promote it. And as business owners have the time and think more about their marketing, we'll help them find their way on to doing these sorts of things. There's others as well. So.
And is this a standalone website? Or is it through the university, like in terms of a page on the university side?
They have a website, they have publications, and they have a reach as well. If council wishes, we can bring back some examples of some of the things on there and just show you what some of that looks like.
Yeah, or even just a link to the
Sure
site
thing.
would
Yep.
be handy. That would be awesome. Thank you for that. And then, oh, just a comment regarding the next page, page 4, looking at the citizens are connect to existing pathways for healthcare, and this is administration develop an online map of services. I took a look at that. There's a bunch on there, but there's a few that are not on there. I'm wondering how often that gets updated. In terms of this is, there's a link there to the Beaumont Health section, tells you where to go if you want to get services, clinics, and I kind of played around with it and noticed there was a few not on there. And who worried about that?
That's okay. Thanks for the question to the mayor. That is updated by our FCSS team, and it is updated, I believe, quarterly, if not twice a year. We do check to make sure that the businesses that we are listing on the map do have active business licenses in the community, which has been a question that's come up a few times for businesses located within Beaumont that are not yet on the map. If they don't have an active business license, they're not yet on there. And otherwise, people can request to be on the map if they're not already.
Okay. Yeah, I did see a storefront one there that wasn't on there, so that's been around for a long time. Okay. Thank you for that. And then the last question I have, I believe, is the last page. So the last page, it talks about the technology upgrade, the City of Beaumont website to make it easier for citizens to find and accurate information. The new website was launched in July 2024, was improved. I'm just wondering, and then one below that, explore new platforms and applications that enable citizen feedback and interaction. These are completed items. I'm just wondering, is there a plan for, or is it in the works to have something like a customer satisfaction feedback in terms of interaction with the website, response times, or customer service? Is that something that's in the works or planned? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, for the question. when it comes to the website, it truly is an ongoing improvement project. Of course, what we're speaking to here was a significant revamp to the website based a lot on resident feedback. Of course, you never get it perfect. So again, it's that ongoing improvement, and we are looking at several different measures, just a lot of different ways to analyze how that information is being received, access, statistics. So that is just an ongoing exercise.
Okay, so right now, there's nothing really in the plans for customer satisfaction feedback?
There may actually be. I would just have to double check on that. I just don't want to state that we have those exact plans in place,
Sure.
but I will get that information to you.
That would be helpful, thank you. All right, and I'll pass it over to, thank you for answering those questions, Councillor Goldsmith.
Thank you, Mayor. That's in our current system will be moved into e-permitting option. Will that include mechanisms for additional communications, things like communicating the community standards bylaw that I think go out today with permit applications for developments?
Ms. Raymond.
Thank you. Through the Mayor to Councillor Goldsmith, the intent of the e-permitting solution is to handle residential and commercial development and building permits primarily right now, then focus in on other land development types of permits. So we're not intending to expand this tool right now to other bylaws or other areas at this point. There might be room for it in the ERP system. There's other add-on modules, but this tool is not going to address that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you so much. If there's no further questions about that, we can move on to the motion. So I'll need a councillor to make a motion. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the January 27th, 2026 report, Council Strategic Plan Q4 2025 update be received for information.
No further discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Is it glitching on us? Okay. Thought it was just me. Should we try again? Okay. Is it working? Yeah. So everyone try it again if you haven't already. Try again. All right. Carried unanimously. Thank you.
I was worried. Felt like it could be
Awesome. Okay, let's move on to the quarterly. I think that was pulled as well, the quarterly operating update.
Yes, Mayor, and I believe that Deputy CAO O'Neill would like to.
Go ahead, Ms. O'Neill.
Thank you. Well, I'm not going to read off those slides. I can't see anything, but good evening, Mayor and Council of Economic Development, Infrastructure, Productive Services, Planning and Development, and Community Services. And there will be a separate economic development presentation later this evening, so some things might be covered off in here, or they might be covered off in the subsequent presentation. So we continue to refine our data collection and reporting processes. We continue to refine our data collection and reporting processes. This is still a work. This Q4 report also serves as the full year report for 2025, where we can, well, hopefully you can clearly see the annual operating trends. Overall, our operating trends remain consistent with previous quarters. So a few highlights that I want to note for you. In community services, we continue to see an increase in use of the city's social services programs like FCSS and the Youth Center. On the recreation side of things, we've noticed a decrease in registered programming, but an increase in spontaneous use. So we monitor these trends and adjust our offerings based on that data as part of our annual planning. In infrastructure and operations, among many other stats that reflect the city's growth, we've seen our annual ridership mark surpass 40,000 riders this year, which is a 40% increase versus last year. And many of our capital projects have been initiated that were approved in the budget, and more detailed project updates will come during the Q2 report once they're underway. As I mentioned, Director Niesink will provide a more fulsome economic development update shortly, but I do want to recognize the targeted efforts that her team has led that have resulted in a significant reduction in the city's commercial vacancy rates. If we look back to 2023, that vacancy rate was 21%. By the end of 2025, it had dropped to 6.5%. So these results are pretty incredible, and they help attract investors to the city. What's especially important to note here is that this decrease occurred while additional commercial property was coming onto the market. In protective services, the fire services annual trend has seen a slight decrease versus last year, but the real increase has been in municipal enforcement, with a 14% increase in complaint-generated incidents and a 70% increase in provincial violations. And finally, our planning and development team, like Ms. Raymond mentioned, I would say that overall we continue to see increased permit volumes with a slight decrease in overall response times, but we know we need to improve these processes, and e-permitting will help with that. This is a focus area for us in 2026. We want to improve the public-facing aspects of permitting. Each director is here this evening and available to answer your questions that council may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cole-Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I heard one of my questions answered, the 41% increase in transit riders, and the number today is 40,000 annually? Okay, thank you. Just a question under the planning and development piece. The application times, they've generally improved year over year. I'm just curious if we can quantify that or give a sense of what that might look like.
I can learn how to work eScribe and the agenda thing. I would be better off not having 50 different tabs open trying to figure out how to get back to that really small spreadsheet.
We feel you.
Thought we could all, sympathize on that. As much as I do like this system, it is a vast improvement. I will say, okay, on planning, sorry, specifically your question was about just processing times in general and that volume?
Yeah, the report stated that application times have generally improved. And I was just curious, by how much, roughly?
Yeah, I would say that that answer tends to depend a little bit. Right now, we were showing, say, for a low-density residential, so a house, we were showing a processing time decreasing by 8 days over the previous fiscal year, despite increased volumes. So I think one of those things is we're not the speediest, but right now where they have been is holding that relative volume despite year over year increases in permit volume in a relatively similar staffing level. So we've been making changes, as we mentioned before, to be able to increase those times and trying to improve that processing for people so that you'll see this as an improvement on the 26 one, more so than this one.
Perfect. Yeah, I did hear a number there. That is significant. Thank you. Can I keep going here? On the municipal enforcement, there's a comment that said municipal warnings issued have increased. And I just wanted to confirm that warnings, is that like a warning or is that a ticket? Which way is that?
Chief, go ahead.
Through the mayor to...
Oh, sorry, turned it off again. Try again.
There we go. Through the mayor, Councillor Cole-Smith. So a warning is a warning. Don't do that again or you'll thing. But when it comes to...
One more clarification. I think I heard it was previous council, there was a gentleman in here disputing a ticket, and I think that I heard a comment that warnings weren't, want to confirm, so we are tracking the number of warnings given year over year?
Through the mayor to Councillor Colesmith, every file that's generated is tracked in our records management system, so we can track how many warnings are being issued, because we still issue the violation tag. It's a warning letting somebody know what the offense is, where you were, so that if another officer comes over and pulls over the same person or deals with the same residents, they can look at the history and go, well, this person was already received a warning a year ago or a month ago, and then they can make their decision on what they're going to do. So all of our interactions that we have with the public, if a file is generated, it's tracked in our RMS system.
That's the right answer, what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Good questions. Okay, Councillor Hyde?
Yeah, question under FCSS. So a little concerning here around a negative 80% because of 79% because counseling spots are available based on a budget allocating to counseling.
Sorry, Councillor, can you just say what page you're on?
FCSS, it's under FCSS.
Yeah.
So it
Oh,
would
there it
be
is. They were
page
just-
3 of 15.
Okay.
Sorry. Are we all there? Can you see that? Eagle eyes there, I tell you. So 58% due to a shortage of cleaning staff available to clients in Q4. To what's going happening there, referrals in-home support for seniors. It's showing a 58% decrease due to shortage of cleaning staff available to clients, to take clients in Q4. So there's some concern there. Has that been addressed? Are we addressing those concerns on the counseling and on the cleaning side? Because that's definitely a concern with our seniors, and especially with our mental health issues that are going on in the city as well.
What number? Oh, number 6, Mr. Suter.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for the question. Yeah, we would be addressing that as part of our ongoing assessment. I can't specifically say exactly where it's at, but typically we would watch. If this is a continuing trend, we would address it. There's probably a lot more built into that answer than I can provide the clarity this evening, but it would be something we would watch in Q2 and see where we're at. But part of it was probably staffing. There's some dollars, there's counseling, there's demand, there's a lot of layers in there. So it's not just a one quick answer for you, Councillor Hyde. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I just noticed that these are numbers that jump out to me and they coincide with some of the other numbers that we've been seeing as far as with the RCMP and such like that on mental health issues and things like that. So I'm just wondering, where that's going to lie within FCSS and how we can address those type of concerns. So that's where I'm kind of going with this, is kind of a holistic report,
Yeah, thank you again for the comments. Around that one that you asked about the cleaning, and that I'm not sure offhand if that was just a contract issue or contractor issue, but typically we would look to it's be an ongoing assessment.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Van Nieuwkerk?
Yeah, thank you. Continuing with the community services, and the question is under the recreation facilities piece, and page 70 of 127. And the question is on the total open space utilization. So being that this item was pulled, I just want to see if administration can speak to that. So basically the stat says there's a 33% negative usage in total space utilization, but that isn't the story. I'm just wondering if administration can tell the story here of user groups booking fields and not using them. Can you just share how we got to that and what that actual issue was, and how it's looking now? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Through the mayor to Councillor Van Nieuwkerk, adjusting as we move forward in conjunction with our user groups, as far as moving away from block booking or team booking for sports fields, moving into an hourly booking. It's not so much a revenue generating exercise, it's more to A, track data better than what we have now, and B, make sure that they're being utilized. The rub is if you block book and someone doesn't show up, in theory, then no one can turn around and rent it that quickly. And we don't drive around and measure this data very carefully because you need someone to do that work. So we are relying on the reporting when someone books that it's being used. We catch some of it. So These are best guesses based on what we're aware of, but I think as we transition through 26 here and then into 27 with the new process, we'll have much more accurate data. And also, it should be an incentive for people that book by the hour.
Open space and may or may not show up to use it. And if they didn't show up to use it, other groups would say, oh, we're looking for field space and, you know, this is open, but then it was actually booked by someone else, right? Like that's what we were looking at.
Through the mayor to Council Van Newkirk, that's part of it. I think for me, the real benefit here is you almost can build a business case when the ask is we need more fields. So if the data is accurate and it shows the utilization is at capacity and people are using it, then you can justify, in theory, building more stuff. But if you don't have good data or it's not being utilized because of the method of the booking, then I think it's hurting everyone as we move forward.
Thank you. Yeah, where we're going is the right place. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, it doesn't look like there's any more questions on that item, so we can move to make a motion. If I can have a counselor make a motion. Counselor Hyde, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. That the January 27th, 2026 report, quarterly operating update Q4 2025 be received for information.
No other discussion? Okay, we'll go to a vote, see if it works. Let's try it again, okay? All right, try again if you've already pressed it. Okay, there you go. Carried unanimously. Yeah, year in review, and over to you, Ms. Niesick, number 8.
Thank you very much. So we have always committed that as we bring the quarterly updates, we're going to bring alternative and additional updates to council. This evening, we're very happy to bring sort of a wrap-up for 25, as well as some updates to the commercial market analysis that we presented in January of 24. Mr. Devin Tuttle is here to run us through it this evening. We welcome questions as he comes across them, or at the end is either way fine, but I will hand it over to Mr. Tuttle to share with council what we found.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a, no, go there. Perfect. Number 6, I believe it is it? Thank you. Okay.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Very happy to speak with you all tonight. Yeah, as Jen mentioned, this is our 2025 year in review, and happy to provide an update of where we've come over the last 2 years. So this presentation provides council with that year-end review and economic development outcomes for 2025 and the observed changes since the Economic Development Department adopted a data-driven approach in 2023. The intent is to demonstrate how market conditions have changed, how those changes align with our economic diversification strategy, and how this approach positions Beaumont as growth continues moving forward. So in 2023, the city shifted away from a reactive facilitation towards data-driven market management. This change was anchored by Beaumont's first comprehensive commercial market analysis, which established measurable baselines for inventory, vacancy, business mix, retail supply, and consumer preferences. This marked a fundamental change from how economic development decisions are informed. Using the market data for targeted investment attraction, administration has been able to address key service gaps that facilitate a constant improvement to our residents' quality of life. What we've seen, has already been highlighted, is that tremendous vacancy reduction, a more targeted growth, and moving into a more sustainable market. So Beaumont continues to grow at a pace that exceeds most Alberta municipalities. Since 2001, the city has nearly tripled in population, reaching approximately 24,600 residents by the end of 2024. Recent data published by StatsCan for the end of 2025 now indicates that we are a population of 26,305 residents. Forecasts indicate continued growth, with Beaumont approaching 30,000 residents by 2030 and potentially exceeding 48,000 by 2024 under a midpoint scenario. Because we anticipated such growth, it necessitated that we are a lot more deliberate in our approach to investment attraction to ensure that the quality of life our residents demand continues to improve. If we look to our competitive municipalities, Beaumont is outpacing every municipality in the Edmonton region. This is even more pronounced now that we have updated 2025 data for all of the Edmonton area municipalities, where Beaumont leads the way at a growth rate of 6.3% last year. Increases demand for services, employment, and commercial space. Increases demand for services, employment, and commercial space. However, at the same time, recent development activity has been dominated by residential construction. In 2025, residential permits accounted for approximately 96% of all permits issued. And when residential growth advances faster than our non-residential services, residents must travel elsewhere to access goods, services, and employment. This creates leakage and puts pressure on transportation, infrastructure, and household time costs. Addressing this imbalance has been a central focus of economic development since 2023. Simultaneously, the imbalance also creates long-term pressure on servicing capacity and fiscal sustainability for the city. What we're seeing here is that volume of residential permits to all other permits, and while everything is increasing, residential growth is outpacing our non-residential growth. So residential growth obviously hasn't occurred in isolation. Since completing the market analysis in 2023, Beaumont has added approximately 150,000 new square feet of non-residential development, and we're looking at an additional 75,000 square feet to come online over the next year, bringing total commercial capacity to almost 850,000 square feet. With these spaces being filled almost immediately by in-demand businesses, it reinforces that our market can sustain new commercial developments where additional non-residential is no longer purely speculative. One of the most significant outcomes, as already pointed out, since 2023 has been that reduction in commercial vacancy. At the time of the initial market analysis, approximately 21.3% of our storefronts were vacant. 1 year later, vacancies reduced to 15.4%, and as of November last year, vacancies declined to approximately 6.5%. This represents a substantial structural change in our market. The number of new commercial storefronts coming online while simultaneously experiencing a massive reduction in commercial vacancies reinforces this strategy of shifting to a developer-oriented approach, working with landowners from the onset to ensure that new non-residential development is built out specifically for the business's needs. And at the same time, we need to ensure that our local business community is heard, seen, and their voices matter. Working with those businesses operating at the right location and space for their needs is a core part of our development approach. The significant reduction in commercial vacancies would not have been possible without sustained business retention and support efforts operating alongside new development. Over the past year, we have observed very limited storefront turnover. While some businesses have changed ownership, the majority of our storefronts have remained under the same use and under the same brand. This continuity is an important indicator of market stability and business confidence. Over the past 3 quarters, administration has significantly strengthened the business visitation program, increased touch points with local businesses, allowing us to better understand their operational needs, any space constraints, and growth considerations they may have. This ongoing engagement supports early intervention, helps businesses remain in Beaumont, and contributes to overall market stability and satisfaction. Later this year with our Q2 update, we'll bring a lot more information on how we're working with local businesses and hope to provide a further update on this. So looking to our future land use, with investment attraction expanding from simply filling vacancies to a more developer-oriented approach where landowners, investors, and administration are all at the table together to bring purpose-built land online and demand-driven investment into our city. Our strategy is now to focus on those remaining service gaps with purpose-built development. If we look at the map here, this is all the remaining areas that's under approved land use bylaw for non-residential development and the total, area footprint that they have in our community. One of the impediments to future development will come from the availability of those service-ready lands. To bring in new developments that can support employment lands, we'll need to increase the service-ready land. And to this, we are actively pursuing grant opportunities to develop that green field into that service-ready land. We need to promote Beaumont as both a city that provides a high quality of life and a place that is also developer-friendly. And one of the things that I'll touch on here is that large rectangle in the bottom right-hand corner is where the proposed AMTA park is to go. And so if you see that on the map, if that comes online, that radically changes our land use. How much space can be developed? It completely dwarfs what we have as available land use or space elsewhere. Sorry about that. And all this to say that composition matters in our community. The issue is no longer how much space, what kind of space. We've shifted towards locally serving uses. Medical and wellness, childcare, food and beverages, and personal services have all expanded since 2013. And while some comparison retail categories remain underrepresented, the overall service mix has improved residents' ability to meet their daily needs within the city. I just have two graphs there showing the changes from 2023 to 2025 and the rapid increase in the amount of businesses that are available in the city now. And so what we're looking to do is optimize quality of life for our residents. With approximately 30.5 square feet of retail space per capita, that being for every resident, we have about 30.5 square feet of retail space, Beaumont has entered into a sustainable range for locally serving markets. This indicates that recent commercial growth has begun to match population needs, supporting a more complete local living environment rather than relying solely on external trade areas. We've experienced improvements across multiple consumer categories, and we know what our next targets need to be. Having this type of continuous analysis on the developing needs of our community and working with developers from the onset ensures that builds meet the needs of businesses being targeted. And what this graph is showing here is under a low forecasted population growth, we're anticipating that we'll need approximately 1.35 million square feet of residential by 2045 and as high as 2.28 square feet over the same time frame. Those are massive increases from where we currently are. Commercial storefronts represent only part of Beaumont's business activity. And in addition to approximately 260 occupied storefronts, the city has businesses operating in shared spaces and more than 300 home-based businesses. Since early 2025, Beaumont has added 42 new businesses with growth concentrated in trades and personal care services. Business activity is structurally constrained by land and building supply, and to address this imbalance, we are actively reviewing the land use and business license bylaws to facilitate the scaling up of major home-based businesses. Employment lands and small format industrial space can be the release valve here. Working with developers for the creation of co-working space, we've addressed part of that constraint with a space for personal services, medical and wellness, and administrative work. The next step is to enable that transition of businesses that require a lot more purpose-built space, such as trades-based businesses, to shift into a commercial market. So looking forward, economic development does not act as the sole driver of market outcomes, but plays an important role coordinating. By establishing baselines, monitoring change, identifying constraints, and aligning investment attraction with land use and policy, economic developments help shape how growth is absorbed in our city. Since 2023, this approach has helped reduce vacancies, support service expansion, and improve access to goods and amenities within Beaumont. As growth continues, maintaining this alignment will be essential to preserving quality of life and ensuring long-term market sustainability. Council decisions directly influence whether Beaumont captures or leaks its growth benefits. What we need now is collaboration between the political and the policymaking that assures developers and investors that we are a place that is easy to do business. That's all I have for a presentation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The chair is blocking your name tag, so I don't know your name. Sorry.
Oh.
Tuttle?
Tuttle, yes, Devin.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that presentation. I'll have other councillors ask questions, and I have a question for you. Councillor Hyde first, and then Councillor Goldsmith.
Yeah, pressure from the city or from council or anything like that, so that's excellent to see. I'm just going to get right to it because that's the way I am, and what I hear from the constituents is we are a city of 5 different types of stores that go into the new developments. Cannabis stores, nail salons, pizza places, liquor stores, and daycares. That is primarily what we hear from our constituents is, oh great, there's a new development getting in, it's going to have one of those 5 or 2 of those 5 or 3 of those 5s in it. Now I know that you can't directly influence what goes into those buildings, but do you have any tactics to try to get other types of business such as restaurants, other types of services that constituents are looking for, or the taxpayers are looking for into the city. And I guess that's just what I'm getting heard from what is economic development doing about that. So that would be my question.
I think Ms. Neesink is going to cupcake that. Are you?
I'm happy to address it, Madam Mayor. Thank you. You're right, we do see a lot of them. The reality is we will continue to. What we have done with our approach over the last few years is we've started working with the developers at the onset of the development. Ms. Wendy Jones here, she works very closely with trying to fit them with what we found as gaps in the market analysis. We try to have the spaces retrofitted, so drive-through is a big thing. A lot of places look for drive-through. A lot of things are looking for different size scales. So working with the developers on the onset helps attract those different types of businesses that we're looking for. We've seen some success filling some of the commercial market gaps as we've been presenting as we go. But at the end of the day, it is ultimately the developer's decision as to what goes in. Many of the businesses you listed are a quick and easy sell for the developer. Not saying the business is easy to run per se, but they are usually the first to the post for the developers. They exist because there is enough business for them all to exist. The market will self-correct when we actually get oversaturated, but you will see that from time to time. And we can update this a little bit more in our other session later on this evening. But at the end of the day, we push what we can. We bring forward all of the prospects that we can, but we cannot sign those deals for the developers.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that, and that's more for transparency than anything else that I asked that question. Also, I guess what the biggest question is on everybody's mind that I'm talking to is there an appetite for a hotel in Beaumont? Because that is the big question that's still out there, and I would say on 50% of the people's lips when they're talking about economic development. When are we getting a hotel? So I'm just going to ask it.
That's a fair question. So at this time, there is no hotel plan for Beaumont. We have worked with several different groups who develop hotels over time. Right now, without going into the full details, there's been studies and that done on this. We don't have the weekday stays. We have a lot of tournaments, we have a lot of great things on the weekends, and the hotel would do well. But to hit that 67 to 75% that a hotel needs, we just don't have the driver here during the week at this time. As we continue to grow, we'll continue to work with those relationships that we've built. And once there is a good business case, I'm sure we will see one. But at this time, we just don't have the case to have one built at a full-scale hotel level.
Thanks for answering my questions. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Councillor Cole-Smith and then Councillor Penrod.
Thank you, Mayor. I saw in the report that, and thank you for that, that trade businesses were growing quite significantly and most of them were home-based. Is there any plan to include them in the business visitation program to see if there's a common trend or common need to help them grow and transition out of the home and into commercial space?
Ms. Neesink, or Mr. Tuttle, you go ahead.
Yes, there will be a plan to include certain home-based businesses that are business retention specialists, to discuss their needs. It's obviously an important aspect.
Oops, sorry about
We need
that.
to understand those needs and honestly, we don't have the space right now. There's just, as we've shown, we're limited on land supply, and to get those businesses in a commercial space requires an area with large bay formats, places that you can have storage without noise pollution. So there is a plan to address that, but that will be later in the year.
Thank you.
You good? And Councillor Penrod.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate your presentation this evening, Mr. Tuttle. I really have appreciated the data and the analysis that you've brought into the team. Can you start by just restating the closing paragraph of your presentation? I didn't catch it, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah, for sure. So council decisions directly influence whether Beaumont captures or leaks its growth benefits. We need to have that collaboration from the political and the policymaking that can assure developers and investors that we're a place that makes it easy to do business.
So that sounds good. It sounds kind of dense, like there's a lot packed in. Those words are carrying a lot of weight. Can you just expand on that sentiment a little bit and paint the picture, either you or Ms. Niesink, what it might look like if we can achieve that kind of synergy as policymakers and planners
Ms.
going
Niesik?
forward?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Penrod. I think what we're trying to, it is a dense statement. Beaumont is at the cusp of developing a lot, and we've spoken to council a lot about your role in helping us with the attraction. We do believe it's very important. People look to the council, they look to the policy, they look to other businesses when they consider a community. So we've had great support with this council. We'd like to continue to have that support as we bring in new business, as we bring new opportunities for Beaumont. As we can, we're going to call on you. In the meantime, we're going to bring policies that will help developers, that show that we're open for business and we're friendly to these developments. And what we ask is that we have council support in creating that environment for development. So it will evolve and change as it has over the last few years, but we will continue to count on council for support on bringing that non-residential into the city.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now. And I just wanted to touch also, I was happy to see some numbers that you had thrown out. I am missing the page that it's on in your presentation, but you gave some concrete numbers on average lease rates. And it's nice to, I guess there's this narrative in the community, speaking of narratives in the community, right? Rightly or wrongly, fair or not, that part of the problem is that lease rates are just, like cost per square foot is just outrageous here compared to our neighboring jurisdictions, right? So glad to hear some of the color around why that is. And it seems like a lot of it is an accident of when we built, and that we kind of built after the big jump in costs for construction. And so those are developers recouping some of their costs and the new business environment that we're in. And unfortunately, the community narrative sometimes chases the data by a few years. And so we will still hear out there sometimes that there's just tons of empty or vacant commercial space. And why are we building more when there's tons of vacant? Well, we know the data shows there's actually not a ton anymore. There are some areas that are persistent and has some particular challenge to filling them. And so I look forward to in the year ahead to your strategies for how we continue to work with those developers and fill those. I'm just wondering though, with respect to the lease rates, what's the prospect of ever catching up or becoming competitive in the region from that perspective when all of our growth now is really taking place in this, after this big sea change in cost of construction? How do we overcome that competitive disadvantage?
The competitive disadvantage is also being driven by the fact that there is that demand here. So we've talked about the work towards decreasing the vacancy. If we still had 21% vacancy, the developers would have more of a reason to lower. Other areas have lower vacancy, more new bays, more they're trying to fill. Right now, Beaumont is filling a large portion before it's even built. If developers can get the money, they will. That's business. It does become difficult, though, as we try to transition those home-based businesses, as we look for the entrepreneurs, as we look for that smaller scale startup. And that's where you'll see us working with things like co-working facilities and different other opportunities. We look for grants. We look for other ways to help those people break into the market. But I couldn't say for sure that the market would cool unless we get to where our vacancy starts to rise again, and then it becomes a driver to lowering that rate. So it's one of those things where it's great to have that lowered vacancy, but there are also other costs that come along with that. It attracts more development, which again increases the competition.
Yeah, I'm glad you went there to the kind of evolution of home-based businesses to that next step, and that is a hurdle that we hear, is that that cost per square foot is really keeping people at home. And you've given even more color in the report to some other factors that are doing that. So I'm glad to hear that. It sounds like we don't really want the market to cool off, but it's if I could be broad about it, it's outside money that's coming and filling up those units that are being built. Great, we'll take that investment. But it does sound like we need to have some particular strategies and some particular creativity and some particular partnerships with our local business owners, our local capital, who are invested in the community in a different way, and maybe end up reinvesting in the community in a different way. So look forward to working with your department to develop those strategies over the years ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Penrod. I'm not sure if I missed this, but I want to ask a question in regards to, I know in residential rates and things like that for renting, for tenants, there are regulations. I understand there's not those same regulations, right, in terms of commercial increase rates. Is that correct?
None that I know of, Madam Mayor.
Like, for example, a landlord can increase the lease rate as much as he wants from one year to the next without any regulation in place. Is that correct for commercial?
Depending on their rental contract. So if the contract is over and they have a new contract, yes, it could be increased. If they have a contract, usually there's a set increase rate.
Yeah, because I know that is a frustration for some current business owners as well.
Yes.
Is finding that they now can't pay because it's increased so much over a year.
Yep.
Yeah, so as far as you know, there is no regulations around that, right?
Correct.
Okay. One question I did have, I was looking at the Okotoks numbers, and when we talked about increased population and projected increase of population of Beaumont over the years, I noticed that, and very similar, they had very high spikes, maybe 1 or 2 years, and then it began to taper off a bit. Is there any expectation in terms of that for us as a community as well?
We've developed some forecasting models for different scenarios, low growth, medium growth, high growth scenarios. And what we've seen that is different and distinct from every other Alberta municipality is we've grown at almost a rate of 5% since 2001. We've had conversations prior about eventually this has to stop, right? And it just hasn't. We've went from 7,000 in 2001 to 26,000 in 25 years. And if we look to more national or StatsCan population projections, Alberta and the Edmonton region is first and foremost going to be one of the highest growing places in Canada. There's a multitude of factors that go into this, from immigration policy, both interprovincial and foreign, as well as low land costs compared to other provinces. And the availability of jobs in our province. So at this point in time, 6.3 is a high number for last year. It's higher than we anticipated. And you can see on the graph there that 06 to 2011 was 8%, and Leduc was pretty close behind. It just keeps growing, and we just keep growing. So at this point, we're pretty confident in our forecast that we will continue to grow.
Exciting times for ECDEV. Thank you for that, Mr. Chettle. Councillor Van Newkirk, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. Question for the presenter or Ms. Niesink. This is around certainty. What we know is that big investment decisions thrive on certainty. Beaumont is moving towards municipal development plan and land use bylaw updates, both which were fully funded in budget 2026. Can you speak to the need and desire for certainty and where Beaumont is at right now with those who might be considering investing in Beaumont?
Likely later on, Councillor. Briefly, what I could get into now is that as developers are considering different site options, having a level of certainty in the fees, the allowances, what's going to be permitted, the timelines, is a large factor in the decision making. So the more we shore up and firm up our policies, the better. The fact that they'll be new and be written will make this year a bit of a balancing act, but going forward, the more certainty we have, the more information we can provide up front, the better shot we have on attracting the development.
Yeah, that's what I expected. That's fine. I'm asking because at some point you have to pause and make updates to some of your most important documents. And, we've chosen as a council and administration to do that this year. And, that could bring some uncertainty. It's just the fact. That's just how it is. So, yeah, thank you for that answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your presentation. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you, Mr. Tuttle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move into our motions. That'd be all right? Take a
Mayor.
bio break?
Do you want to finish this item first before we
Oh,
break?
I'm sorry. Yes, we do. So we'll need a counselor to move this. Make a motion. Counselor Colesmith.
Thank you. I move that the January 27th, 2026 report, Economic Development 2025 Year in Review, be received for information.
All right, no discussion. Counselor Van Newkirk?
No.
No? Okay. So we will go to a vote. Are we good to, yeah, okay. And carried unanimously. All right, we'll take a 5-minute bio break, come back at 7:27, according to that clock.
My plant alarm went off. My plant alarm. My plant alarm went off. My plant alarm went off.
Sure. Yeah, it's always good to keep that in mind. Yeah. All right, we're going to get, sorry, we're going to get started again. Here's where I need my thing. I'm going to get one. I'm going to get one. We're live. I'm going to continue on here. We are currently at 7.4 on the agenda. So we have a number of motions.
So Mayor, these are the motions that were provided, notice was provided at the last meeting. When each item comes up, the councillor will read out their motion and then we'll proceed as normal.
Perfect. Okay. All right, so I think the first one is Councillor Murray. Let me give you.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that by the end of Q1 2026, administration provide a report on the signage permitting process, under Part 4 of the Land Use Bylaw with respect to the fast track process and regular track process, and that the report address how it is determined whether a signage application is processed through fast track process or a regular track process, including any differences in application requirements, forms, fees, and expected timelines. Common reasons for approval or refusal of signage permits, including how standards are applied within the same land use district. Any quality or design standards applicable to fascia signage. The use of variances, including clarification of how these apply across commercial districts, including the Main Street District. Whether there is any grandfathering policies for signage on older commercial zone buildings that have no vacancy, and whether a grandfather policy might assist in meeting deadlines for fast track process and regular track process. Whether there are deadlines, guidelines, or information provided to new businesses regarding signage standards and requirements, and the appeal process available following a signage permit decision, including who can appeal, how to appeal, what costs there are to appeal, timelines for the appeal process, and any relevant information.
Would you like to speak to that?
Yes. Since I've been campaigning and been in this position, we're hearing from a lot of business owners that are having some quite lengthy times to get to their permit, to get their signage put up. And there doesn't seem to be a real consistent reason why that is across a couple of different businesses that I've spoke to. So this is my attempt to sort of get to the bottom of it and see if we can bring a little bit of consistency perhaps and improve our processes. I'm hoping to actually get these processes down so that it's not such a lengthy process in the extreme cases, and that it can be a little bit easier process on everyone in knowing what to expect and how we provide that service to these businesses.
Thank you for that. So I just want to remind us again, as we discuss this and go into debate, just try to keep our questions and comments and stuff concise. We've got a lot on our plate tonight, so just be mindful of that. So Councillor Penrod.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Murray, for bringing this forward. I certainly echo having heard this concern on signage in particular across the community, the business community. And that was my first question, is kind of what's your why behind this? We've got a lot of bullet points up here. I think you've answered it actually just in your opening statement, so I appreciate that. And I think if I could paraphrase you, I heard you say essentially you're looking for every and any opportunity to improve this process and bring approval times down, hopefully while still holding a high standard, right? We don't want to throw our standards out the window. I think you'd agree with that, yeah. So I guess the only thing I would And at the end of the day, it's asking for a report. Then we'll have further debate and opportunity to make a decision on that information when it comes back. So I'm really in favor of this motion. I just wonder if you'd like to add as a friendly amendment just exactly what you've said, just to kind of make it very clear the intention. Otherwise, I think the risk I have or the concern I have is that all the exact kind of finely pointed, aimed questions get answered and we miss that big picture of I don't deal with the bylaw every day. I don't actually see the applications come in. I don't see what gets approved or not, other than the stuff that lands at appeals. And like you, I don't really understand why one goes and another doesn't. I haven't been able to make heads or tails of it. And so my suggestion would just be to add one small thing that would just invite the department to actually reflect on any other opportunities there are to improve this process and speed it up for our applicants.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Sounds good to me. Would we put that at the beginning, like at the opening sort of sentence, that that's the part of the purpose, or put in another bullet?
We can add it as another bullet. Councillor Penrod, would you mind repeating what it was, what you said, please?
I'll try, and maybe Ms. Murray can, Councillor Murray can repeat too, because I was just trying to paraphrase what I heard, but kind of any other opportunities to improve the permitting process while holding a high standard. Something to that effect. Just to capture the expertise that exists in the, I'm sure that people in the department don't love saying denied, right? I think every indication I've had from our folks working in these departments is they're bending over backwards trying to get to a yes on things. And sometimes that's why our timelines are going so far out, because they're dealing with an incomplete piece, or our communication hasn't been clear about what we're actually looking for. And so we're kind of going round and round with people. So, yeah.
I'm just wondering, Councillor Penrod, if we should use the word suggestions as opposed to opportunities?
Sounds good to me.
For clarity's sake?
Yeah. And ultimately, it's Councillor Murray's
Murray?
motion.
Yes, suggestion sounds a little bit better, I think.
Okay. Awesome, thank you. Councillor Net-Tellenbos, and then Councillor Van Newkirk.
Perfect, thank you, Mayor. Obviously a lot to consume here, so I anticipate that you have some reasoning behind each bullet item, so I just ask a few questions if you don't mind. When you refer to signage, are you talking mounted storefront signage, or are you talking all signage that would require a permit, including billboards and things along those lines as well?
Yeah, so first of all, there are a couple of signage areas, like sections within that section 4 of the signage area that actually don't have a fast track process and a regular track process. And so my intention was to capture, I figured that this was actually part of the complications or inconsistencies, was part of that process that we're using that's different, which now that you say that, I'm not completely certain after I've got my counselor inquiry back, so maybe we need to amend that as well. Yeah, so it really is more about the business signage, not temporary, not neighborhood signage or wayfinding and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's also projection signage in that would be a consideration. It's really essentially to find, and these questions are to find what it is that is tripping us up.
Okay, perfect. And then it looks like there's a few issues mentioned here. One, I would assume, relates to approval times, which I think you're captured there. Am I correct in assuming that there's some longevity associated with that we're trying to accelerate or get a better understanding as to why?
Yes.
And then the second part, it looks like there's likely been some denials or refusals for certain signs. Is that the other portion?
Yes.
Of the request case?
Yeah.
Perfect. I do believe that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, my question's for administration. In the upcoming land use bylaw work that's budgeted for in 2026, will all of this type of information and the concerns surrounding that be included in that review? Just looking for some clarity on that.
Thank you through the mayor to Councillor Van Newkirk. Signage is definitely one of those ones that will be in this review and how we can make that process better.
And in support of that review and in anticipation of that review, has administration been collecting opportunities and concerns internally that is going to inform where that goes in 2026?
Absolutely, and that's work that we will also be bringing back to council for your input too, to make sure that we got the scope right as we're looking at that. We are collecting what's working, what's not working, where are we all getting tripped up. I think the signage bylaw has gone through multiple iterations, I will say, over its time period, because I can remember lots of other complaints with the previous bylaw and signage. And being able to improve that process is definitely something that would be of benefit for everybody. I just want to add that some of the information that Councillor Murray is asking for might not be something that might be part of like that specific review, or something that might be a little bit more nuanced in terms of that part about the fast track process to the regular process, and understanding like really nitty gritty on the signage piece. Because I think that what I understand from Councillor Murray's motion is that she wants more information to understand a bit more about the signage and why and how we're evaluating it, which isn't maybe something that for sure will inform whether or not our standards and our policies are working, if they're clear to people, those sorts of things. But I think some of this is information that is more current and topical for how is this working right now, and how can we improve that clarity for people.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you answered my subsequent question, and that was, is the review and process around signage approval work also that will be completed in that? And I think I heard the answer is some will, some won't. And maybe some of the level of detail being asked in here isn't going to come through that. So what I'm left wondering is if there's a way to wrap all this up into the work that's going to happen in the land use bylaw in 2026 that's currently funded. If there was a way, what I'm trying to avoid here is administration has a pile of work to do. We've done a whole bunch of budgeted work in budget 2026. Week after week, we're adding notices of motion on top of that. We're asking for detailed information here that could be wrapped up into work that's going to be really looked at in work that's already budgeted for the rest of the year. I hear all the struggles, past, current, present, that user groups, businesses, sign companies themselves have had with signage. I think safe to say that we all want to see process improvements and streamlined signage processes in Beaumont. I think that's everybody's goal here. But personally, I think there's an opportunity to consolidate this work that's contemplated here and these questions, even with this level of detail, into the bigger picture work that's contemplated in 2026. So I want to see all of the answers to all this. If that's going to help streamline and improve the signage process that is frustrating folks in Beaumont, what I don't want to do is week after week pile work on top of administration that, for the most part, they're going to contemplate in already budgeted stuff in 2026. So expect me to bring that sentiment forward in future council meetings, to future motions that ask for work that is already budgeted for and we might want sooner. I would also say that there's, signage aside, we've already asked for a motion to say what is possible with MDP ahead, that we could do with the MDP ahead of the MDP work that we're doing. So we're asking for pre-work there. And if we ask for pre-work on every hot button issue in this community, then are we stuck once again not getting done the important work that has to be done and completed with the MDP and LUB? I've already been a part of a process where I think that getting down too deep in the minutia didn't allow us to get done what we ultimately needed to. So, yeah, so I support this 110%, but I don't support this motion tonight. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Van Newkirk. Yeah, I think that, I know I've spoken with Councillor Murray about this quite a bit, and, you know, we want to avoid doing extra work for administration as well. Sometimes we just need information in order to make intelligent motions and movements forward. So I think what you're trying to do here is just gather the information that you need to figure out where are the gaps to be able to answer. And one of the things that I heard tonight, iterated by economic development, and this is where I'm coming from, is that this drives economic growth and development, is answers to things like this: signage, efficiencies, being able to have reliable systems in place. And if that is ongoing, slowing us down, even as we're waiting to get to the other plans, the LUB and everything, we're going to be putting out fires all the time. So I do support this, because I do believe that if we see gaps that we can help to identify, or to be able to, even this is pre-work for the LUB, then there's less when we get to the bigger picture of the land use bylaw work. It's already done. So that's my take on it. I will support that. Did you want to add to that, Councillor Hyde? Yeah.
Just a quick comment. Yeah, obviously it's. I don't want to slow down the process for the MDP and the LUB either. However, being a storefront owner myself, and also being part of the Chamber of Commerce for many years, signage has been a major issue, not just for companies coming to town, but companies in town that want to update their signage, or they want to go from their home to storefront, and it's taking, the process is just very long and arduous. It's something that I don't think can wait until we totally define everything through the LUB and the MDP. It's something I think that is frustrating enough in our community, and frustrating enough to new businesses and to businesses trying to get out of their homes, that it's something we need to address in some fashion fairly soon, rather than we know how long the NDP and the LUB can take. This is something that we can have kind of upfront for information at least. And if we can make some small tweaks in the meantime while we're figuring everything else out, I don't think that that's a big issue. We're not going to get, I don't think we need to get stuck in the weeds with it and get a whole new rewrite, but we can certainly take a look at it and see if we can tweak some things for now while we're working on other major projects. And I think we show the business community, just as Councillor Van Newkirk was saying, we want the business community to look at us and go, wow, they actually understand and care about our business. This is one of the ways we can do it. So I totally support this motion.
Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, you can close the closing.
Thank you. Thanks for all your comments. Yeah, I think it's important that we consider the financial implications of doing a report in advance of doing land use bylaw complete rework. But I think it is important to really consider the timelines for those documents in terms of what Councillor Van Newkirk said. And that's why I really think that this is important. As the mayor had also mentioned, this information, whether a change is made before a full land use bylaw rewrite or not, will be information that helps us formulate, I think, a land use bylaw in the signage area at least, something that we can recognize, like, okay, we have some challenges in this direction. We have, we did it well in another, and we can bring that information for forward. So that's the intention of my motion, and hopefully everybody will support it.
Thank you. So we'll go to a vote. Yes. Oh, Ms. Raymond?
Sorry to chime in. I'm just asking for a slight amendment to the motion. More to clarify that you're expecting this report to look at commercial signage and not looking at special events and that nonprofit kind of signage, just to be a little bit more clear here at the beginning about what you want the report on signage to entail. So we would be looking at commercial or business signage permitting processes is what you want the report to focus in on.
Yeah, I don't need anything about neighborhood signage or electronic signage. It really is more focused for the business portion of it.
For sure. All right, yeah, I appreciate that. That's definitely very helpful for us. Thank you.
Great, yeah, great tweak.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we will go to a vote here. Yeah. And that is 6, whoops, I lost my voting. 6-1, I'm not sure who, Councillor Van Newkirk was opposed. Okay, perfect. Let's go on to the next one. Thanks for that discussion. And this is you, Councillor Van Newkirk. Sorry.
Okay.
Slow in the draw here.
Thank you. Tonight, I move that by the end of Q1, a consolidated list of days, weeks, and months recognized by the city be compiled, maintained, and made publicly available on the city's website. I'll just speak to that quickly. Tonight, I'm asking for council's support on this motion. It's a simple one that is asking for administration to review, compile, and post all the days, weeks, and months that the city foresees and suggests be recognized. The goal here is transparency and visibility for all of these days, weeks, and months that are anticipated to be recognized. This is a straightforward step toward greater transparency for the community. For background, right now the city issues proclamations and letters of recognition for a wide range of important causes, cultural celebrations, awareness campaigns, community events, and the like. In summary, a clear, centralized resource for those would make our local recognitions more visible, help everyone plan better, whether it's participating or anticipating any of these days, weeks, or months, or simply learning about the causes that our city supports. So it's really about gathering them all up that are anticipated across the year and putting them in one spot for greater visibility. So asking for council's support on that fairly simple motion here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Natellenbos.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Van Newkirk. I think it's important. I just have a question to you. To what granular level do we want to go? Because obviously the list could potentially never end depending on what we're focusing on. Do you anticipate or have you provided any direction as to kind of what level we're looking at?
No, the activity that I would expect would be a retrospective look to what has been celebrated in years past and a prospective approach around are there new days, weeks, or months upcoming in 2026 that we anticipate and compile that list and go forward. We need not celebrate National Popcorn Day, but other, the important weeks, days, months that may be overlooked or want to have visible, would make the list. So I hope that once the report was complete, there could be that look for granularity to see how and where it got. So I don't know. Maybe that helps.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. And one last question. Obviously, we do, as a city and as councillors and even as individuals, we do our best to recognize, obviously, all the celebrations that take place and important days. Would the intent be that the website and whatever means of communication we use to celebrate and honor these days be done in lieu of the proclamations that happen at the start of council? And the reason I ask is obviously if we miss something, we all feel terrible. So this may be an opportunity to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I think that work would probably be contemplated post-list, and it might be an important discussion, even in the last months in council chambers ahead of the election. And now, there's been a little bit of a shift in how we're doing proclamations, and some of that is for guidance reasons from the province and such. I don't profess to understand it all, but perhaps once there's a consolidated list, that would be an important, maybe next conversation. So I'm not certain.
Perfect, thank you. Reasonable request, I support this, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Natamas. Councillor Hyde.
Yeah, I think that going along that same line as Councilor Natamas, I'd like to see on the list that's compiled which of the ones were done by proclamation and which ones are done otherwise that were adopted. So it would be a great list to see what Beaumont has actually done through proclamation and as well as what's been adopted. So if we break that out, I think that would be quite useful to the public as well. Thank you. But I do support this one.
Thank you, Councillor Hyde. Yeah, I just want to add to that. I don't know currently if we have on our website a calendar of events. Is that something that we have? I mean, that might be something very simple to do in the future as well, and just add those dates. And what I hear you saying, Councillor Van Nieuwkerk, is dates that are relevant to Beaumont. You know, Beaumont, whether it be proclamations, days of recognition for our community, or events that happen. Correct?
Yeah, that would be the intent, yeah. And like I said, it would be, like the activity at hand, I think, would be like a retrospective look and say in 2025, what were they in 2024? Make some columns, see what the consistency is, recognize anything that's new and emerging, merge that list, bring it forward, and then at that point, I think we could have a look at what we have in the community and, perhaps add a column for, as Councillor Hyde has suggested, because I think that would be an interesting look. But, perhaps we should get a list there and then we can start working with it a bit if need be.
Sure, I understand. I mean, I think that's a good starting point, because if we want residents to go to the website for everything, then they'll go there looking for, when is this? What is the event? And so having some place that they can go to see those dates, I think, is really important, or to see the recognition dates. Yeah. So
the future anticipation piece right now is really not possible, right? Like, this helps with that.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, no, I support that. Any other comments, questions? Okay. You want to close?
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay, then we will go to a vote. All right. And that carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, next one is me. So I'm looking for your support in this motion that by the end of Q2 2026, administration prepare a report identifying any feasible options and the associated costs for the use of city-owned vacant property located within the Centreville area, central area behind the CCB, CC, and Maintenance Phase 1 and 2 buildings as a temporary parking lot for area business owners, staff, and patrons. The reason why I'm bringing this forth is, as we all know, parking is a challenge in the Centreville area at the best of times, and continuously we're hearing from business owners that customers are coming and they don't really have any place to park, because a lot of times either staff or owners or even residents in the area are parking throughout the day on the Centreville area. So it's suggested that the parking lots behind the building be opened up, and for the owners, staff, and other patrons to have that overflow parking. So this motion is asking, what is the cost if we were to remove a few concrete blocks and open up a space there and allow that to be used for parking? Doesn't have to be paved. I know there's a paved area already, but there's another section that's not. Maybe just gravel on it. So this is what this is for, just to be able to provide a solution for our businesses in that area who are finding it very, very difficult for their customers. Councillor Murray.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I believe this is coming from a councillor inquiry that you just did a couple of weeks ago. And I think this actually would make a lot of sense. I was just in the Main Street area during the afternoon today, and it is tight. It's packed in there with all of the businesses that are both in that sort of tower professional building, as well as all of the, it's just absolutely full with the street and everything. And if we look to the future as the Esprit apartments are opening up, I think we may find that that becomes even more necessary. So yeah, I will support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Nettelmbos.
Thank you, Mayor. I definitely understand the premise behind this. My only concern, and I think I'll ask to ECDev or maybe even planning, given that this would be a temporary parking lot, through your experience or administration's experience, have we seen frustration when we give something and it almost becomes an expectation, then we take it away? Is there any concern with us making this a parking lot and then a year from now saying, sorry, it's gone?
Ms. Niesink.
Thank you. I can speak from previous experience. There's no such thing as a temporary parking lot in the public's eyes. I think if it's a parking, people grow to expect it as parking. New development, new things coming into the area are always nice to have, but once people become accustomed to parking somewhere, whether you've allowed them to or not, I mean, sometimes parking encroaches, but typically once something is parking, it becomes an expectation of the public.
Perfect, thank you. And then I guess next question would be for you. Given the uniqueness of this area, do we anticipate any future developments down the road? I'm not asking that there's commitments in place, but that this would be usable land as opposed to just a parking lot?
The short answer is we look to develop everything. That's my job. There's always possibilities. So we've taken a look at a lot of the lands. This lot has some challenges, but this is something we could perhaps look into a little further and bring some information back.
Ms. Raymond, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think just to clarify here, we are talking about that central park. We call it Poutine Park or whatever through the years. That's the parcel we're talking about, right? We're not talking about the vacant lot between Esprit to the one that's at the corner of 50th and 50th that the city owns, that small one where it had the heritage, the Magnum property there. We're talking about the central parcel in behind Esprit and the strip mall.
That's right. That's right.
So in that one of the challenges I will say with that one is half of that has storm tanks underneath it. So that is a storm drainage area where we'd be talking about that parking. We have sold land already to that development when they first did the first phase in terms of where that covered parking is. So we have been addressing some of those challenges through there specifically with that building. Future, it's designed as a central park with an underground parking structure of which will cost a lot of money to be able to construct that, and it isn't feasible, but that's the future intent underneath the area redevelopment plan.
Perfect. So just on that comment, obviously I realize this is just a report, so I'm not going to get too big into it, but I just don't want administration wasting their time if there's no value in it. We have plans for the property in the near future, but it doesn't sound like that's the case. So for that reason, I would support this report.
Oh, thank you. Councillor Hyde?
Yeah, and keeping in with that spirit of the businesses that are downtown there, with the newest rebuilding going up, having one parking stall per unit, there's going to be challenges with parking in that whole neighborhood. So, there's the paved parking in behind, there's some things like that. But what I'd like to see, if we are going to open this up as the reason for this having parking for patrons of downtown businesses, is that there would be no overnight parking in this facility as well, so that we didn't have it as a public parking for the residences. This would be strictly for the businesses downtown, so we'd have to have signage that says no overnight parking. So that's just a little comment that I would make on something like this is, otherwise then we end up with a car parked there for 3 months while somebody flies away to Florida, and I don't think that's a great idea for this. So in your spirit, with what you're doing with the businesses, I think this is a great idea, but I would add that caveat that definitely you don't want to have any overnight parking in that area.
Thank you. Councillor Penrod and then Councillor Van Newkirk.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question for administration. I think we've already established, but just for my clarity, this area being contemplated is covered in the Centerville redevelopment area development plan, correct? Yeah. And would this proposed use be permitted under that?
Sorry, through the mayor to Councillor Penrod, it's discretionary.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's just Councillor Natellenbus's point of not wanting to like waste time if it's ultimately going to get pondered and just isn't possible to go forward. I do know that there is some requests or some interest from business owners. Yeah, I struggle with this one because it is potentially a short-term solution, but then you get into what kind of behaviors we're inducing by it, right? And so if we have a short-term issue and we come up with a short-term solution that actually promotes more cars without the infrastructure to support that, we get kind of further away from the actual kind of livability that the Centerville redevelopment plan is trying to achieve. And I know the community's kind of, that's an open debate in the community, the virtues on that or what, but and my point around kind of the no such thing as a temporary parking lot. I mean, we're seeing Edmonton really struggling to, in their downtown, to do away with some of these kind of temporary parking lots. So they just become low-hanging fruit, fairly lucrative for the landowner without a lot of need to invest in it, but it doesn't drive forward additional kind of high-level highest best use type developments in the downtown. And this is exactly what we're dealing with here. So I'm generally not opposed to requests for information. The only other thing I thought is maybe as a friendly amendment, Mayor, if you'd consider just asking specifically for previous council debate and decisions to the extent that they're covered in reports or minutes from the past, that those would be included in the report. Just to, that would be useful information for me if it is to come forward to be able to ponder why didn't we already do this kind of thing. That's my last thought. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. So not sure, are you asking for, was there a previous motion or you want to go look through all the minutes on conversations about?
Yeah, interestingly enough, in another councillor inquiry just recently, I was kind of reading around the periphery of what that returned, and I saw actually there was a debate when the CCBCC opened, and kind of in the minutes was captured a councillor saying in, I think 2016, we're going to regret this. Like, we're really missing an opportunity to put more parking in this area, right? And so if there's one, there may be more, and it would be helpful to be able to reflect on that. In my mind, it's your motion.
Sure, yeah, I guess just wanting to know the extent of that, if that's going to cause a lot more work on the part of administration, if you can speak to that.
And again, I only offered as friendly,
Yep.
so.
Yeah, and I'm open to it if it adds to the report. But I think if they can get me the information without it, just looking at whether or not this is something that's feasible, that's doable for temporary, and what the cost would be. But I'm open to it. I'll just wait for them to. Okay. Perfect. Studies, that's a good way to put it. If there's anything that's been done in the past reports. Okay, perfect. Councillor Van Newkirk.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of what I was going to say has been covered, and I won't repeat it, but often we ask ourselves, what problem are we trying to solve? And I think the problem we're trying to solve here is parking and being creative with what we have and just looking and trying to think just a little bit differently. I know that, that area has been used for performances and this and that and other things, and it's been used as kind of a multi-use space, but this report would bring back some options of what it could look like, and I support that tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other? Okay. Well, thank you so much for the discussion, debate, and yes, the concern about being temporary, I just think about the dog park as an example. Yeah, people, you have to change, But I also believe that when you give a temporary solution, it also speaks volumes to your community, that you're listening, that you understand, and that you're willing to put something in place that is temporary in order to relieve whatever pressure and solve the problem. So in the interim, until we figure out a more long-term. So I'm hoping that this will help us in that way to be able to have a creative solution that's even if it's temporary. So thank you for that. Hopefully you'll support this, and we'll go to a vote. And that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Okay, so we're moving right along here, and we are up.
Yes, thank you very much. Now you got to guess what number this
Mic'd
one
up.
was. All right, thank you very much. This is in your package, so I'm not going to go through each line. I know we still got quite a bit of work to do here. A lot of activity at the Chantal Berube Center as they expand their programming, and more people are going through the doors and involved in the programs. Community survey for the Festival Event Strategy Project is closed. We have 463. That's a great response. Typically, we'll get anywhere between 100 and 200, so that's twice as much. FCSS, as you can see, very busy. Family school liaison workers from Beaumont, as well as members of the Leduc County Family Resource Network are talking in collaboration, looking at trends and seeing which areas we can provide support. A number of workshops held. Economic development perspective, busy. Wendy just literally flew in today from the the ICSC. So if she starts falling asleep on us, we know why.
She's an hour behind, though.
Snow removal update. We've transitioned to priority 4s, and it's on schedule. We're in the southeast quadrant of the city this week, and then we go in a clockwise rotation. Each year we start in a different quadrant once we get to the priority 4s, and anticipate to be completed by the 13th of February, weather dependent, and the weather looks like it's going to cooperate. Just fun fact, this is not in the notes, but we can add it. Crews have hauled over 1,450 loads of snow in the dump trucks with the snowboards, which amounts to about 64,000 cubic meters of snow. To put that in comparison, the water park at West Edmonton Mall contains 19,000 cubic meters of water. So that's filling that entire wave pool 3.5 times. That just shows the extraordinary weather we had. You'll see a drawing there that I'm anticipating you perhaps can't possibly see, which has been the theme of the evening. But we're happy to know that we've worked with the sports groups and are going to accommodate 2 9x9 soccer pitches, as opposed to back in December we showed you a concept drawing of 1 11x11. The user groups are happy with that, and you can make that out. It's on the right-hand side of it. Planning development, we sent you an email earlier. We have passed 25,000 people. They recently reduced that and show that we've grown another 6.3%, which is what Devin talked about earlier. We're now over 26,000. So we are growing and continue to grow. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Penrod.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a quick observation, because this is a piece that it's fairly recent innovation, having the reports kind of included in our packages. What I've noticed is that it's actually, it lags. So what was included for our package for this meeting was almost like the minutes from the last. Is that intentional, or I had always thought it was, but
okay.
You talked about this report being included in our package, and so maybe just reflecting on, we had a quirk with our voting mechanism that took us a while to sort out. Part of it was we weren't on the same page about what the problem was, I think. So I just raise it. If there's any way to have the report that's given tonight included in advance, that would be appreciated.
If I may, so we want the CAO's update to be as up to date as possible, so it's timely. We didn't used to even include the CAO's update in any of the information, so the only way to receive it by the public was to watch the video. we included it in the agenda. So the previous week's update is included in tonight's agenda package, so that it's there and available publicly. But in order to provide timely information to council, this doesn't, we're not able to hit the publishing timeline for our agenda package.
That's kind of what I had figured previously, but I just thought I'd raise it in case there was a improvement to be made there. Thanks.
And we'll look at whether we can improve that as well. I clicked on a link of the most up-to-date update. I didn't even click on the one in the agenda, and I just did now and realized it was from last week. So let us play with that one. Otherwise, yeah, I'm going to have to go through in more detail. Thanks for that observation.
Councillor Hyde and Councillor Colesmith.
Yeah, I'm not sure, thank you, Mrs. Mayor, that I had made a comment a few weeks ago about this drawing and having access to the trail system through Four Seasons Park from the parking lot at the school. I'm just wondering if that was addressed or not.
Who's that? No. CAO.
Yeah, Councillor Hyde, let me get that back to you. I'll send you an email, send council an email.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Colesmith.
Thank you, Mayor. The stats you shared about the snow, everybody, like, those are impressive, and we just kind of skipped right over that. If there's a way to share that publicly, on Facebook or something, I think that would go a long way to show the work that was done and give people a sense of the scale.
No, thank you. That's a really good suggestion. I just got that number like at 4 o'clock this afternoon, so yeah, we'll get it out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Along with
Oops, sorry.
a big mountain and our bulldozer that's pushing it up there. It's really kind of cool. We're going to open a ski hill.
Yeah, put the picture out there. Beaumont flag. Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. We're moving right along here. We have some new councillor inquiries and then going on to notes of motion. Councillor Hyde.
Yes, this is one of my inquiries to please provide population statistic tables and corresponding land use concept maps from each of the approved area structure plans, neighborhood structure plans, and outline plans currently active in the city of Beaumont.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Natellenbos.
Thank you, Mayor. This relates to artificial intelligence policy. So please advise whether the City of Beaumont currently has an AI use policy in place. Additionally, is the city utilizing an enterprise level or otherwise protected AI platform for all staff? Finally, what compliance measures or audits are being conducted to ensure that AI tools are used in a secure and safeguarded manner? Next one relates to lane identification on 50th Ave. So as a follow-up to a previous inquiry, please provide information on the scope and timing for the completion of any traffic management solutions that will be used to identify traffic lanes on 50th Ave between 57th Street as well as Range Road 243. Another one as well, keep on it. So please provide an update on the status of Le Rêve community as development activity on the site appears to have stalled or been significantly reduced.
Thank you. Councillor Colesmith.
Thank you. Please provide a brief description of the frequency and type of reporting planned following the official launch of the Clean Energy Improvement Program, that was the CEIP. What metrics are anticipated to be included in the reports? Example, number of registered participants, total value of upgrade funded, loan terms, average loan interest rates, estimated water and energy savings, administrative time to deliver the program, and additionally, will there be any mechanisms to receive feedback on the application process from participants? And please provide information on the feasibility of adding units of measure to our municipal utility bills. For example, meters cubed for water consumption, the start and end read, and dollars per meter cube for the water rate. Thank you.
We'll go on now to notices of motion. At number 10, Councillor Hyde.
Yes, I'd like to put forward this note of motion that by the end of Q2 2026, administration bring forward proposed amendments to the municipal development plan and any other related plans and bylaws to revise references to a minimum density of 35 dwelling units per net residential hectare to 30 dwelling units per net residential hectare.
Councillor Van Newkirk.
Thank you. At the February 10th, 2026 regular council meeting, I will move that by the end of May 2026, administration bring forward relevant bylaw amendments to prohibit temporary tents from being erected in front yards or over front driveways on private property within residential districts. Also, at the February 10th, 2026 regular council meeting, I will move that by the end of Q2 2026, administration provide a report to council regarding the potential inclusion of a school resource officer position in the 2027 budget deliberations, including results of engagement with Beaumont school boards to identify their needs and expectations related to such a position, potential cost-sharing arrangements with the school boards, and any other relevant financial and operational considerations. Thank you.
Awesome. This is Councillor Penrod.
Thank you, Mayor Van der Kraak. At the February 10th, 2026 regular council meeting, I will move that by the end of Q2 2026, administration provide a report to council on amending the traffic safety bylaw to remove the delegation of authority to the chief administrative officer for setting speed limits within city limits, including current legislative and bylaw framework, any history or decisions of council prior to the current bylaw and the delegation of this authority, operational safety and liability implications, impacts on consistency and responsiveness of speed limit changes, a jurisdictional scan of regional municipal practices, and proposed bylaw amendments.
Thank you. At the February 10th, 2026 regular council meeting, I will move that by the end of Q2 2026, administration provide a report to council on potential options, implications, and costs associated with the implemented 2-hour on-street parking limit in Centreville between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Councillor Tellenbos.
Thank you. At the February 10, 2026 regular council meeting, I will move that by the end of Q2 2026, administration install a designated loading-only stall on 52nd Ave adjacent to Centreville Park to facilitate short-term drop-off and pickup access for park users, including individuals with mobility challenges, with the cost of installation to be funded through municipal reserves.
All right, I think that's the end of that. And we are going to go into a closed session. Did we need a break at all? Bio break? 5-minute break? 5-minute break? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back and go into closed session. So 8:27.
Did you get these as well?
Yeah, we all got them in the packet. we are ready to roll. To go into closed session here. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that council move into closed session at 8:29 PM pursuant to the Access to Information Act, Sections 20 and 30.
Awesome. Any questions, discussion? Okay, we'll go into a vote. Carried unanimously. So we'll now. Did you have? We are live again, and I believe just before we close out here and adjourn, we have a few motions we have to do. Be willing to do this? Be willing to do this? Councillor Natellenbos?
Figured I'd take the wordy one here. So I would like to move that the January 2027, 2026 report, regular council meeting, economic development, Q4 update, confidential land and use business update be received as information, and that the report remain confidential pursuant to sections 19 and 30 of the Access to Information Act.
Any discussion? Okay, vote. Carried unanimously. Okay, do you want to do the next one? Oh, yeah. Okay, Councillor Cole-Smith.
Thank you. I move that the partnership funding opportunity as outlined in the January 27th, 2026 regular council meeting partnership opportunity report be approved and that the information be made publicly available once all partners are confirmed.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Coming up. And that carried unanimously. All right, there's no more business, and we will adjourn at 9:29. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.